Welcome back, welcome back. This weekend, the G20 finance ministers are meeting in London ahead of a summit of world leaders, G20 leaders, later this month in Pittsburgh. Expectations are high, or fairly high, and France plans to play a big role in the meeting. President Sarkozy has announced new limits on bonus payments to traders and said he would press his G20 partners to adopt the same standards as Paris. Well, earlier I spoke to the very interesting French finance minister, Christine Lagarde, a former synchronized swimming champion, recently voted the 14th most powerful woman in the world. Here she is. In terms of the stricter controls that you're advocating on bankers, traders and bonuses, while there's great sympathy, obviously, with that in terms of the people who took away huge sums of money just before their businesses were going to crash, at the same time, people like John Varley of the Midland Bank have said that if those regulations go too far, those restrictions, it could throttle recovery.
You know, any excuse should be heard. But I remember a few months ago, it was all about, if there is too much regulation, it's going to kill creativity in the banking sector. Well, thank you very much for creativity. We don't need too much of that. And when some say, not too much regulation, please, because it's likely to hamper growth or hamper the stimulus packages that we're just rolling out. No, we don't want to hamper growth, sustainable growth, I mean. And we certainly want our stimulus packages to be rolled out properly. But we need to draw the line between what is needed for growth and what will be of help to everybody, including the financial sector for that matter, and what is going to put all of us at risk.
And what about tax havens, Christine? Would the world be better off without them completely?
Any country is at liberty to set taxes in the way it wants. What is not acceptable and what can be extremely painful, and you see that through the Madoff schemes, you see that through any scheme, is those territories that have highly privileged or extremely low tax systems, which is okay, it's their choice, but which on the top of it refuse to communicate information, refuse to share information with those tax territories that, you know, the like of France or the UK or Germany or other territories in Europe, practice regular taxation. In other words, levy tax for the benefit of, you know, roads and police and justice and all those functions that are the function of the states. And what we want to do is to eliminate those dark areas where people who want to avoid and evade their responsibility can hide. That's all I want.
That's all. And what about France adopting these measures itself? If the rest of the world doesn't follow on what President Sarkozy and yourself have been advocating, then I suppose France would be disadvantaged, would it?
Well, David, let's try to convince all our colleagues that this is not for the benefit of France claiming credit to the system or to the proposal, but it's to the benefit of all citizens of our member states in the G20 group, that there is responsibility, that there is transparency, and that there is no obscurity, dark little pools where very few people taking risks for their own benefit will put all of us at risk. That's what we need to do.
And the news last month was that the economies of France and Germany were beginning to rebound and growing 0.3% between April and June. The figures surprised many people, but you were surprised yourself, weren't you?
Yes, I was. I was surprised because all my very legitimate and very intelligent forecasters had all along predicted that we would have negative growth. And it was extremely satisfying and, I admit, a surprise to have positive growth, which we can now sort of decipher and analyze in retrospect, but which came very much as a surprise when the number came out.
The blame game, Christine, that's been widely played during this crisis, and President Lula of Brazil said that the blue-eyed bankers were the ones to blame. In your opinion, who or what was the main cause of this crisis? The main cause that we should bear in mind for the future?
I think for the future we should always keep in mind that everyone is responsible, and when we do a post-mortem later on, when the dust has settled, I'm sure that we'll find out that the bankers, the lawyers, the auditors, the board members, the supervisors, the regulators, politicians, members of parliament, and on and on and on and on, were part of the same equation. And that certainly everyone had its little share of responsibility, members of government included. What really matters more than the blaming, finger-pointing exercise is how do we manage to all work it out together, and instead of pointing fingers, how do we make sure that we achieve a level playing field operation where reasonable, sensible regulators and supervisors will coordinate amongst themselves to stop the kind of risk, the kind of excesses, the kind of abuses that we have witnessed and all have been victim of.
And at this moment, where you have the 0.3% good news and you have the other figures coming in from around the world, how would you describe where we stand on this very day? Is the recession coming to an end? Is the danger of unemployment as great as ever? Is the crisis over, or what?
We're not right on the cliff at the moment. I think we've managed to probably contain the financial crisis. I think the systems are now working, credit flows a lot better, interest rates are low, and companies are getting credit in the main. The economic aspect is still in need of restructuring, refocusing, support generally, and we clearly need to address the developing countries' needs, the sustainability of our model, and proper sound financial basis. What is still very much an issue is employment and unemployment. What kind of sustainable growth are we building going forward? How much employment will it offer to people? How are we going to absorb young people coming to the scene, both in emerging countries and in developed countries? Those are the challenges of today and tomorrow. And unless and until we address those challenges successfully, the crisis will not be over.
So as a former champion of synchronized swimming, how difficult will it be to synchronize all those leaders with their varying views at the G20 in Pittsburgh? Will there be synchrony?
As I would say to team members, hold your breath, David.
We'll hold our breath, Christine. Thank you. In a minute, from the worlds of film, TV, radio, newspapers and books, I'll be joined by comic writer, actor and director Armando Iannucci.